You know why they want that?
Going to be.
Is that the city property?
So if you have any, would you like to see that? If you have any questions, would you like to see it?
They're putting a fence around it. But no reason to try to turn that into. Anyway, I was going to do
That's all I hate.
Somebody wanted to get a couple of things. Yeah, she has a cell phone. Sure, we'll do it. It's okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to call to order the regular session meeting. Thank you, please. We'd like to call to order the regular city commission meeting for tonight, which is October 18th, 2022. You please have roll call.
Commissioner Drosky.
Here.
Commissioner Barnett.
Here.
Commissioner Preston.
Here.
Vice Mayor Huda.
Here.
And Mayor Yunus.
Here. Would you please stand for a moment of silence?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we can have approval of the regular city commission meeting minute for October 3rd, 2022.
Motion to approve.
That motion and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Acknowledgement of our city board meeting minutes for planning and zoning, September 1st, 2022.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Parnas, second by Commissioner Preston, all in favor say aye. Those opposed? Okay, approval of the agenda for October 18th, 2022.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Preston, second by Commissioner Parnas, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Madam Clerk.
Anyone wishing to provide comments during tonight's meeting and are connected online using video, you must hover the mouse at the bottom of the computer screen and click the participant tab. On the right side, a button marked raise hand will appear. Once you click that button, you will be recognized by your profile name and your audio will be unmuted. Anyone connected via mobile or landline, dial *9 to raise your hand, will be recognized by the last 3 digits of the number and unmute. And I'm sorry, you may dial *6 if necessary to unmute.
Thank you very much. First item we have is a presentation for the appropriation check for the Deerfield Beach parking lot stormwater project presented by State Representative Chip Lamar. Chip here.
Mayor, he's not here yet. I am in contact with his office to see when he will be here.
No problem. We can move around. That's fine. We'll just tease him when he gets here. So our first award and recognition that we have tonight is a certificate of recognition presented to the Department of Economic Development for winning the International Economic Development Council's Excellence in Economic Development Silver Award. Because as part of the city's economic development program, the Department of Economic Development is continually creating programs to assist Deerfield Beach businesses as well as other aspiring entrepreneurs. Now, over the past year, Economic Development Coordinator Gigi Shazoo spearheaded the creation of digital flipbook that's been designated and designed to help individuals find information on how to access city services and network of other resources to explain how to start, grow, and expand a business here in the city of Deerfield Beach. The flipbook is designed to remove local jurisdiction barriers to small businesses by providing a written and virtual step-by-step guide to forming a new business in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. The flipbook can be viewed at www.dfb.city under the Economic Development tab. The winners of the IEDC's Excellence in Economic Development Awards represent the best of economic development and demonstrate the level of leadership that our profession strives for every day, according to IEDC President and CEO Nathan Ohl. This year, IEDC received 500 applications from across the U.S. for foreign countries. Please join us in congratulating Ms. Shazoo and the Department of Economic Development on this outstanding recognition. Before we go to our second proclamation, we're going to go back to our previously planned. When someone brings in a big check, we have to jump right back to that right away. We get very excited. So with much applause, our state representative, Mr. Chip Lamarck, would you please come up?
So you all put me to task every year, and this year we had an excellent project for appropriations. It was for the Aquatic Center Stormwater Drainage Project, and we have a little bit for $600,000. You can't put this in the ATM, but if you want to accept it, the funds will come directly from the state. You might take this, but appreciate what you all do in Tallahassee advocating for the city. It's important that you show up. I know that a few of you come up yourselves, and it's always important to make sure that we know what's going on here, not just from phone calls or reading the paper, but you guys show up and not just send your lobbyists, but you come up and advocate yourselves. It makes all the difference in the world. And when you have a city manager like you do that works as hard as he does, it makes a difference. So
thank you. I appreciate it. And State Representative, we got to thank you for that, because really we know that doesn't happen without your help. You've been a great friend of the city of Deerfield Beach. You do a fantastic job. So thank you so much, my friend. Really appreciate it.
Who does? Who do you?
Oh yeah.
Thank you, guys.
City Manager, can we make sure we get that deposited tonight? Or deposited? This is a proclamation to the Florida League of Cities in recognition of Government Week. Whereas city government is the government closest to most citizens and one with the most direct daily impact upon its residents. And whereas municipal government provides services and programs that enhance the quality of life for residents, making their city their home. And whereas city government is administered for and by its citizens and is dependent upon public commitment to an understanding of its many responsibilities. And whereas city government officials and employees show the responsibility to pass along the withstanding and the understanding of public service and its benefits. Whereas Florida City Government Week offers an important opportunity for elected officials and city staff to spread the word to all citizens of Florida that they can shape and influence this branch of government. And whereas the Florida League of Cities and its member cities have joined together to teach citizens about municipal government through a variety of actions. Now, therefore, I, Bill Gantz, the mayor of the city of Deerfield Beach, Florida, in recognition thereof, do hereby proclaim October 17th through the 21st, 2022 as Florida City Government Week, sponsored by the Florida League of Cities. This is a week-long celebration that raises awareness about the importance of municipal government and its daily impact on our residents. And the city of Deerfield Beach encourages all citizens, city government officials, and employees to participate in events that recognize and celebrate Florida City Government Week. I'm going to present this, I believe, to our vice mayor. You are a representative for the League of Cities. Excellent. Is there anyone here from the League of Cities tonight? Representative?
For now, public comment. Anthony Soroka, City Attorney. Persons addressing the commission shall state his or her name and address and may speak for 3 minutes unless extended for 1 additional minute by the mayor. As a reminder, this is the time for public comment on items that are not on tonight's agenda. The time for public comment on an item that's on tonight's agenda is after that agenda item title is read into the record. And just a reminder, no comment shall be made related to the personal life, personal qualities of any person, and no language which would offend persons of ordinary sensibilities shall be permitted.
Excellent. Thank you. Do we have anyone from the public who care to comment? Sure, come on up. Name and address for the record.
Good evening, Robert Christopher, 517 Northeast 6th Avenue, Deerfield Beach. Just at the last meeting, we had talked about doing a traffic study for the CRD project along Federal Highway. And one of the requests that we made was to be done during peak season. We got a confirmation from the developer that he would not do that during the peak season.
I will find out for you. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Joe Budd, 21464 Bridgeview Drive, Boca Raton, Florida. Mayor, commissioners, and residents of Deerfield Beach, thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today and introduce myself to you, as well as comment on one of the line items that you have before you this evening. I'm Joe Budd. I'm running for Congress in this district to replace outgoing Congressman Ted Deutsch, who recently retired. Ted served this community for 10 of the 12 years that he was in Congress. I want to build on the positive things that Ted has accomplished, as well as work on some of the areas which he may have overlooked. As someone who grew up in a minority neighborhood where I had the opportunity to play sandlot football with Larry Holmes, I understand and care about the unique needs these communities have and want to help. This is how I was raised. My dad was a policeman. I watched how he was involved in the community and the police athletic leagues, coaching and mentoring. To be honest, sometimes as a kid, I was a little jealous of that time he gave away. Yet I know the positive that impact that he made on many lives. A couple of months ago, I had the opportunity to be part of a ribbon cutting ceremony in Coral Springs, where Propel, an education-based organization targeting underserved minority communities, joined with the Serving Institute, another organization serving the same communities with an emphasis on after-school and weekend programs geared toward teach discipline and providing a safe after-school place for young people. This is very similar to your agenda item number 12 under consideration this evening, the allocation of grants from the American Rescue Grant Plan. You have great partners in Jim and Jan Moran for the Deerfield Beach location of the Boys and Girls Club. And I couldn't think of a more appropriate use of these funds that you considered this evening. I've lived in Boca Raton since 1993. We have a beautiful community which was the preferred beach destination for my family due to your parking, due to the business and food locations near the beach. It was an easier place to come to for the beaches that were local to us. I want to sorry that I've cluttered up some of your city with some of my campaign signs. And I promise you, as soon as the campaign's over, I'll remove those as soon as possible. I'm Joe Budd, and this Bud's for you. Thank you again for your time.
Is there anything else from public? Here? See if there's anyone online. Not seeing any, I'm gonna go ahead and close it to the public. Thank you very much. Can we get or find out about that traffic study?
We will, Mayor, and at this time, we have not received a letter from the applicant on how they plan to perform that traffic study at this time, but we have communicated the information and the comments from the residents to them.
Okay, we are now on the consent portion of tonight's agenda. Items 4 through 10 are currently on consent.
Any items? First off, is there anyone from the public that would care to comment on items 4 through 10? Any item 4 through 10, just to show of hands. 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 10. I'm sorry. Yeah, well, let's go to the second first. Ms. Clark Reed, which item did you want to speak on? Ms. Clark Reed?
Yes, Mayor. I wanted some more information on number 9.
Okay, we'll pull number 9.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Drosky? You have polls?
I just want to talk on number 10. I don't know that I need to pull it, but I would like to discuss 10.
Okay.
And then I also would like, we just finished the awards recognitions and presentations. We have as the last item on our agenda, number 17, service line. They're here tonight. So if we could move them up if possible, so they don't have to sit around and listen to all of our boring city businesses. They're here. I'd appreciate that.
Let's get,
We can do the consent first.
that's all right. Okay. Commissioner Preston, do you have any polls? Yep. 4. Yes. Number 4, number 9, and 10. Vice Mayor? Number 5. Okay. So, 6, 7. Is that correct? 10. Yeah. Any motions?
10.
Pardon?
10 I'm gonna pull.
10 you're gonna pull? I'm sorry.
Just to.
Yes, that's right. 6, 7, and 8. So item 6, 7, and 8, any motion comes forward?
Motion to approve 6, 7, and 8. On the consent agenda.
There's a motion from Commissioner Parnas, seconded by Vice Mayor Hudak. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Parnas.
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hudak,
Yes.
Mayor Hill.
Yes.
Item number 4 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving the ranking and award of request for proposals number 22-32 PC for public affairs and marketing professional services, authorizing execution of an agreement with RJP Creations, Inc., the top-ranked firm, for a 2-year term with 3 additional 1-year renewals, providing for implementation and effect.
City Manager, any staff comments?
No, Mayor. No, Mayor, this is on consent, so I'm happy to address any questions that the commission may have related to them on segment.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to open it to the public then. Former Representative Clark Reed, go right ahead. You just need to unmute yourself when.
Sorry, Mayor, I didn't lower my hand. I don't want to say anything on this item.
Okay, no problem. No problem. Commission comments on, I'm going to close it to the public. I don't see anybody here for item number 4 then. Commission?
Motion to approve.
Go ahead. Yes.
You know, when you read number 4 and you read the resolution and you look at the backup, there's a considerable amount of duties to be fulfilled by this company. And, you know, it's very detailed in a lot of ways. And you look at what they're charging us, $83,000 a year. And it's 1 year renewables up to 3 years. So if we were to take all 3 years, it will be basically $250,000. The competing company, instead of 83,000, they make 24,500. So there's a considerable amount of difference between 83,000 and 24,000. And if you were to do 3 years with this company, we would be paying 73,500. There's a big difference between that. Now, when I was looking at the services to be delivered by the company, and I saw the difference, 83,000 versus 24,000, I knew something had to be wrong. And, you know, I just think that we talk about this a little bit so that the public understands why you're paying 83,000 when you could very easily pay 24,000 for the same services. And but on my own, I started to think that, you know, either there's a misunderstanding here, or the company that's giving the city a $24,000 bid isn't able to be able to perform all of the things that are on that list. As I said, it's quite extensive of all the detailed work that's to be done. And my question on my own, can they do that for $24,000? So that's why we're, you know, I want to talk about it.
City manager, you want to comment on that?
Absolutely, I'm happy to address that. First and foremost, recognizing that this is a request for proposals and not based on the low bid price, it's based on a series of criteria. For example, qualifications, experience, understanding the project and the work tasks, the history and past performance on similar project references and price. In this instance, you know, obviously, I did not evaluate the proposals myself. We have an evaluation committee of qualified staff who reviews the proposals in line with the scope of services. And I did speak to a couple of the evaluation committee members to just get an understanding of why they made the recommendation that they have. And it really boils down to 2 main points. One being that if you look at the price proposals that were submitted by both offers, it was clear that the recommended vendor understood the magnitude of the work that was involved. The scope of services did outline that this would probably be about a 40-hour-a-week engagement in terms of the level of effort that was required and the various tasks that we were looking for to be provided. That did not seem to be the case with the offer who's not being recommended, and more importantly, to point out that the hourly cost rate from that company was $175, but then they said that they were not, they're not basing it off of an hourly rate, that they believe that they could perform all of these duties, which we believe is about a 40-hour-a-week engagement at a cost of $24,500 a year. So to the evaluation committee, there's a clear misunderstanding of this company on the scope of work. Additionally, as they looked at the proposal from the offer who was not being recommended, they did seem to have expertise in some of the areas, but not all of the areas. And it was generally for those 2 reasons that the recommendation before you was being made.
So let's just say that we took the lower offer. The city decided to do that. And the company falls short on some of the tasks. Okay, so you're talking 24,000. Will we end up having to basically pay out more money. In other words, they're charging us 24,000. They're not able to do the work like they say they would be able to. How would that become a cost for the city?
Commissioner, we would, when you say fall short, what I would call that is a breach of contract. If there was a breach of contract, we would have a couple different options in contract for termination for cause, termination for convenience. And then we would have to go out and rebid those services. And the cost to rebid through the competitive solicitation process is labor intensive. So there is a cost associated with that. And then of course, we would also be absent the services that we'd be needing during that time as well, which could impact operations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Yes, I looked at the website for both of the organizations, and nowadays everybody can put a website together. I was just curious, has staff done any reference checks on either or both of these organizations to find out what they've produced in the past, what the quality of work is, and try to delineate? I mean, yeah, there's a huge difference in the proposals. And I was just curious, were there any reference checks done to confirm or deny the quality of the work that were being asked to perform?
Yes. Reference checks were conducted on the recommended vendor. I reviewed those references myself. They came back positive from all three references.
So it was just done on the recommended vendor, not on the recommended.
That's correct.
Your comments? Commissioner Parnas?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Parnas, seconded by Commissioner Preston. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Parnas,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Huda,
Yes.
and Mayor Hans.
Yes.
Item number 5 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, considering the special event permit application submitted by DS Event Solutions LLC, Broward Health North, for the Rance Jones Classic Volleyball Tournament to be held on Deerfield Beach from November 5th, 2022 through November 6th, 2022, denying a waiver of fees, providing for an effective date.
Is there anyone from the public who care to comment on this item? Let's see, anyone online? Close it to the public. Vice Mayor Huda?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The reason why I wanted to discuss this one a little bit more is I know this is a great organization. And I know that we've supported the event in the past, and I am fully in support of the event. And I know that the question is with regards to the fees that they are requesting, that basically the city put the bill. And looking at the list of fees, it's over $7,443. And I agree that the city should not put that entire bill. But I was just proposing, since these volleyball courts are going to be all filled with regards to this event, what the commission's temperature would be if we just waived the fees for the volleyball courts, the $3,978.73. Is that something that we can do? We can piecemeal some of the things to waive out, or is this an all or nothing request?
To answer your question, Vice Mayor, it's within the discretion of the commission to waive these special event fees. So it's up to the commission.
So then I would like to make a proposal that the fees that are waived are just for the volleyball court, and then the event organizers would still be responsible for the remaining $3,465 to cover all of the other costs.
Second.
Commissioner Parnas, and then Commissioner Preston.
I disagree. This is a not-for-profit organization. They are not a registered charity and therefore should pay the full fee and not the city. We keep giving away things. I understand giving it away to a nonprofit, a religious organization, but not for a company or a vendor that is for profit. If they are a for-profit organization, pay the fee. the city and the taxpayers should pick up the bill.
Commissioner Preston?
That was going to be my comment as well. And the other consideration is that, believe it or not, this is an inconvenience to our residents. Although that there are some positives with the volleyball tournament. But any of our residents that wanted to go to the beach and use the volleyball courts, they're not able to do that. And so, like I said, there are positives to do this, but I agree with my colleague, Commissioner Parnas's comments.
I don't support that motion, changing that. I think what is being approved works for me, and that would be my support, not any of the variation. So we're looking for a motion.
A motion to approve
We already-
as written. Make a motion to approve as written.
Second.
Commissioner Parnas, is a motion, we have a second by Commissioner Preston. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Parnas.
Yes.
Commissioner Preston.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Huda,
No,
Mayor Gates.
Yes.
Item number 9, I believe we are now. Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving the submission of the Florida Urban and Community Forestry Grant Program application to the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, authorizing matching funds in the amount of $25,000, authorizing execution of the grant agreement, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, is there anyone from the public who'd like to speak on item number 9? Is that the one? Mr. Clark, we go right ahead.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Gwen Clark, Reed, 1430 Southwest 6th Way, Deerfield. I just wanted a little more information as to exactly what this grant is going to do for the community, because they're talking about community participation, or am I reading it wrong?
Mr. City Manager will have the answer to that. We'll have that question answered for you at the end here, Ms. Clark.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public care to comment on this item? We got to close it to the public now. City Manager, can you answer that question, Shia?
This grant is called the Florida Urban and Community Forestry Grant Program application. It's not necessarily community driven. It is grant funds that will allow us to continue our tree inventory throughout the city.
Thank you. Commissioner Parnas?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion for Commissioner Parnas.
second,
Second, Commissioner or City Vice Mayor Huda. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Parnas.
Yes.
Commissioner Preston.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Huda,
yes,
and Mayor Gates.
Yes.
Item number 10 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield, Florida, approving the submission of 2 separate grant sub-applications to the Florida Division of Emergency Management for FEMA's fiscal year 2022 Flood Mitigation Assistance Program for project areas Northwest 45th Street and Crystal Lake Drive and Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue to Southwest 3rd Avenue, authorizing commitment to matching funds in an amount of 25% of the project costs and execution of the grant agreement if grant funds are awarded, providing for an effective date.
Commissioner Drosky?
Thank you, Mayor. I actually apologize to my colleagues. I was looking at an old agenda, number 10, is actually number 11. I want to talk on number 11. So I was looking at an old agenda, so the numbering was off. So I don't want to speak on this item.
Too late. Thank you. Is there anyone from the public who would care to comment on this item? We go ahead and close it to the public.
Mayor, since we do have it, could I just make a quick comment?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much. This obviously, as you can see, there are matching funds involved with these federal grants. Since I do have Representative Lamarca in front of us, I'll let the commission know right now that I'm also submitting those matching funds as our top priorities for our appropriation request to the state this year.
Continue. Thank you, City Manager. Looking for a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Preston, seconded by Commissioner Parnas. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Parnas.
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Huda,
Yeah,
and Mayor Gillette.
Yes.
Item number 11 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, relating to the Florida Department of Environmental Protection State Revolving Fund, adopting and approving the SRF loan planning document for implementation of the Reclaimed Water Main Project in conjunction with FDOT's Southwest 10th Street Connector Improvements Project, committing to implementing the planning recommendations in the planning document, providing for implementation, conflict, severability, and an effective date.
Vice Mayor Huda?
did we already approve this item at the beginning because it wasn't full?
This is the departmental business.
Oh, I apologize.
That's okay. That's all right. Is there anyone from the public who would care to comment on this item? City Manager, you want to do a brief explanation of this on the close it to the public? Or we get that?
Sure, Mayor. So this is in relation to the FDOT Southwest or Southeast, excuse me, Southwest 10th Street Connector project. As part of this project and the negotiations that still continue with FDOT, we have asked them to include a reclaimed water line in the project. Typically, the Florida Department of Transportation, they will install new infrastructure in relation to these projects for local agencies, but they won't do it at their cost. As a little bit different than some of the other agreements that you've seen on this project that came before you just a few months ago. We have existing utilities that they are going to be replacing, and those are our existing water lines, wastewater lines, so on and so forth. But the city does not have a reclaimed water system in the city yet. FDOT has agreed to fund 50% of that cost, and this item right here is approval of the state revolving loan planning document for implementation on that reclaimed water project. There are two other agreements that will come before the commission in relation to these. One will be a commitment for the water usage through Broward County, and the other one will be with the Florida Department of Transportation for that 50-50 cost share.
Though this water is not for consumption, it talks in the back of about a process that it goes through in terms of treatment. Are we, from the city's perspective, are you comfortable with that process?
Yes, Commissioner. This same water, this Broward County water, is already being used in many local agencies here in Broward County. It's been very successful in those various cities. We look forward to introducing this into the city of Deerfield Beach to reduce the demand of our natural water sources.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Grosky.
Thank you, Mayor. So if you recall, if you drove on Powerline Road anytime in the last year, you remember where it was all tore up. That was the reclaimed water pipe that was coming down through Pompano. So now we're basically going to tee off of that pipe at Southwest 10th Street and come east that we can use to irrigate, anything that goes on for landscaping on the Southwest 10th Street project, or even further east than beyond. We can keep going beyond 10th Street. So it serves a good purpose. I get that, but this has been another battle, and we're going to have a lot of them with FDOT on the Southwest 10th Street project. We had asked years ago, not just now, years ago, that this cost be borne by FDOT in its entirety. Now, 50% is better than a stick in the eye, but it's still 50% less than what the ask was. And it's just pause for concern. And why I want to talk about this is, where are we going to go in the future when we have bigger battles with FDOT regarding landscaping and other issues on this project? So this, to me, is, we're off to a bad start on this, because this is not really You know, this is a project that we don't want. It's always been Deerfield getting the best, worst project for Southwest 10th Street. And now we're getting more, you know, more burden is being put on us. We've always told FDOT, this is an opportunity to make this your signature project, you know, to put a feather in your cap, you know, because once they're gone, once this is built and they're gone. We're never going to see them again. And Deerfield Beach is going to be stuck with this, not Parkland, not Coral Springs, not Pompano Beach, but Deerfield Beach. We're going to be stuck with this project for years and years and years to come. So I think this is off to a bad start. We need this. I mean, there's no doubt that we absolutely need this. And maybe this isn't the fight tonight because this is for DEP and not FDOT. But it just rubs me the wrong way. We're off to a bad, you know, start on this. Like I said, 50% is better than nothing, but that wasn't the ask.
I will say this, and we know how frustrating it is to deal with FDOT. I thought the South Florida Water Management District was the worst bureaucracy I'd ever dealt with. FDOT is a close second. And there's been a lot of changes on the South Florida Water Management District, so that's been a good thing. I view this though as a positive in the right direction, knowing Jerry O'Reilly and knowing where FDOT's stance has been on this all along. To even get us at 50% is a drastic change in policy than what they've done historically. Disappointing, yes. Frustrating, absolutely. In my opinion, there are bigger battles to fight with the FDOT that we could help us on to get them at 50% on this. I'm going to look at it as the glass being half full, that this is a step in the right direction. But 50% effort from them on some of these things we have moving forward is not going to be acceptable. And we're going to be looking for our friends up in Tallahassee to help us out with things like that. I know he's texting Jerry right now. But I look at this as a good thing. City of Deerfield Beach is still a little behind using reclaimed water. Other cities have been doing it for quite a while. When you see that non-potable water sign that you see in different medians in other areas, this is really part of what this would be, right? I always call it non-potable water because you don't want to put it in a pot and cook with it, but non-potable. So I think this is a step in the right direction. I support this, but I hope in the future when we have more asks of FDOT that we get 100% support from them as opposed to 50%. So I agree with you, but look at it. Is there anyone from the public? Did I open this to the public already?
Yes.
Okay, I already opened it, closed it.
Motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion from Vice Mayor Hudak, second by Commissioner Preston. Can I do roll call on this? Can I have to do roll call on this?
Mr. Mayor, it does allocate, it does have some funding allocations.
We'll do roll call.
So I think you play it safe. Thank you.
Commissioner Drosky,
No.
Commissioner Morales,
No.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Huda,
Yes.
and Mayor Hans.
Yes.
Okay, item number 12 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving the rankings and funding allocations to local nonprofit organizations for the city's fiscal year 2023 American Rescue Plan Act grant program, providing for implementation and effective date.
Mayor, the item before you is in relation to the ARP expenditure plan that was approved by the City Commission previously. Within that plan, they allocated $300,000 through community participation programs to nonprofits who comply with the requirements of the American Rescue Plan Act. This is different than the community participation grant program that was approved for the regular FY23 budget, as the requirements are a little bit different. As I said, they do need to comply with the federal ARP requirements. Generally speaking, they need to address some sort of response effort to COVID. And those could be very very different things. They could be looking at childhood education and some of the shortfalls that have occurred in relation to the online teaching environment that children were in for quite some time. It could be looking at mental health issues that were caused by COVID and isolation, losses of loved ones, and things of those natures. So the city put out they put out this opportunity to nonprofits. We had 2 respondents to that request. The 2 that were provided are the 2 that are before you. One being Community Cares, and the other being the Deerfield Beach Jim and Jan Moran Teen Center that we have that is relatively new here in the city. The funding request from the Teen Center was $200,000, and the funding request from Community Cares was $40,000. Staff vetted both proposals. They very neatly met the criteria of both the Community Participation Grant Program and the American Rescue Plan funding requirements, and staff is recommending approval.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone from the public who would care to comment on this item? I know we have some representatives from the Boys and Girls Club.
Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, Chris Gentili, co-CEO of the Boys and Girls Club, colleague Matt Organ, co-CEO. Just want to thank you for this opportunity to apply for these much-needed grants. As you all know, we've been in the city of Deerfield Beach for over 22 years, Jim and Jan Moran Club. Most recently, just opened the JM Family Teen Center back in May. Proud to say, over the summer, we had 80 teens a day. The JM Family Teen Center, now we're averaging just over 50 a day in the school fall semester, and we know that's going to increase as spring comes here. So very critical need in our community. As you know, we serve kids ages 6 to 18, specifically at the Teen Center, where our kids ages 13 to 18 need us now more than ever. We know they lost a lot during these past couple of years during COVID. Academically, mentally, they're struggling. This Teen Center provides a safe place for them to go first and foremost, and then access to life-saving, life-changing programs, in addition to snacks and meals, access to caring adult mentors, and then college career readiness programs. We want to make sure our kids are set up for the next level. And this Teen Center and these programs at JM Family Teen Center and the Boys and Girls Club right down the street do just that. But we couldn't do it without the partnership of organizations like yourselves. I'll find organizations like JM Family, the Moran Foundation, who do so much for the community. Matter of fact, we just got a grant not too long ago from the Moran Foundation to hire a social emotional learning director for the Boys and Girls Club, which will run programs in our clubs, specifically the Teen Center, to help these kids to make sure they're mentally and emotionally safe and ready for the next level. And our job is to provide that for them. So without partnerships like you and funding like this, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. We want to serve more kids more often with greater impact, and this funding is going to allow us to do so. So we appreciate your support and look forward to continuing our partnership with you and providing more shared services throughout the city of Deerfield. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Comment on this item? Online. Not seeing what I'm going to close it to the public. I will say this, the return on investment that we get for the Boys and Girls Club is absolutely staggering. It is probably the best investment we'll be making in this community that we do all year. And it is really changing lives, and not just of the youth that are there, but also it's the lessons that they take home that change the lives of the people at that home in which they're coming from. I cannot say enough good things about the Boys and Girls Club and what they do. We are really blessed to have you here in the city of Deerfield Beach. We are blessed to have the partnership of JM Family and Jim and Jan Moran for what they've done. As Mr. Budd said before, it is a tremendous, tremendous organization, and to have that support that we have here locally, we're very, very blessed. So thank you. This has my full support. I'm glad to have been able to champion this. So I'm glad to see this here. Commissioner Preston.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to reiterate the things that you just said. Your comments were very accurate. You know, very often we talk about the direct impact Jim and Jan Foundation. But what we don't talk about is the indirect. And there's an indirect reward, and what is that? As they are working with these kids and they have direct contact, those kids have friends and they go and they talk to their friends. So I will guarantee you, in so many ways, the kids that they're directly involved with, they're going out and changing the lives of other kids because of what they're being told or the girls club. And so the indirect is just as important as the direct, because once you planted a seed, that seed can fall from a tree and actually grow another seed and produce positive fruit. So without a doubt, the city of Deerfield Beach is blessed to have all of you in the city. The results that has happened is just unbelievable. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Commission?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion for Vice Mayor Hudak, seconded by Commissioner Parnas. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Johnston,
Yes.
Commissioner Parnas.
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Huda,
Yes.
and Mayor Dan.
Yes.
Right. Item number 13 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, adopting an amendment to the city budget for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2022, approving a departmental budget transfer in the amount of $702,395 within the general fund, approving a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $114,655 for the Tree Preservation Trust Fund, providing for conflicts, severability, and an effective date.
Mayor, City Commission, I have our Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Stephanie Tinsley, give a very short explanation of the budget amendment before you. This is our year-end budget amendment fiscal year 2022. I do want to point out that it was noted in the audit that we recently had that this was not done during the period of the audit by previous staff, I will say. So obviously, this is proof of corrective action of some of those findings.
Good evening. So this is the third amendment for FY 2022 budget. And if we remember last year, it was a lot more complex and a lot more stuff going on. And so again, we keep striving to do improvements throughout the year and through our budget process. And so this is more just a cleanup at the year end. And there's explanation in the face sheet, but essentially the short story is that within the general fund, the Office of Public Safety was a little bit over budget by about $700,000 related to our pension contribution. And so the issue with that is that when we do budget for the pension contribution, we're looking at information that's over a year old in order to budget for it. And we do not get the actuals until the third quarter of the fiscal year that we're in. And so in that case, we were not aware that it was going to be that much of an increase. However, the budget for the general fund had allowed for some movement of appropriation through it without utilizing unassigned fund balance to cover. And so within the non-departmental, the state pension contribution related to public safety was actually under budget. So I was able to move the appropriation from there to cover the Office of Public Safety version there for the local contribution portion. And then Parks and Rec, they came in under budget for their fiscal year. They had a number of vacancies there. And so this fiscal year, we actually for I believe the first time, we budgeted for a vacancy credit overall for the general fund, and it was about $880,000. balance, because overall, we budget at full capacity in every single department for all positions. And so, one of the things that I have to do is to take that vacancy credit amount and spread it out throughout the departments. And so, I'm very grateful to Terry Reinhardt that she made my life real easy. And I'll say, we'll take the entire credit and put it against Parks and Rec, but I know going forward, should probably be fully staffed. So that's basically it for the general fund. It's just a neat adjustment there. And then the tree preservation fund was under budget for the expenses that they had related to landscaping, the landscaping contract going forward, including more input from the departments throughout this entire process for the budget anyway across all funds. And so not anticipating that we would be doing a large increase. This is not really a large increase, 114,000 going forward, but it is budgeted going forward at an appropriate amount. And so they do have the funds available in their fund balance. Their fund balance as of FY21 was about $640,000. So this more than covers their overage and expense for that. So they are still collecting money, but it wasn't just that was enough to cover. And so that's basically it. If you have any questions for me.
Yeah, thank you. Is there anyone from the public who would care to comment on this item? Just leave it online. Here. Okay, close it to the public. Commission.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion by Vice Mayor Hudak, seconded by Commissioner Sparnes. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Morales.
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Huda,
Yes.
and Mayor Gantz.
Yes.
Okay, Mayor and Commission, I do have my law partner joining me for the discussion for number 14. He'll be joining in about 5 minutes. I know Commissioner Drosky asked earlier, if we could move up item number 15 presentation. Does the commission want to proceed with number 15, come back to number 14? Okay, great.
Who's got the higher price tag, your partner or?
It's up to you. Otherwise, we just have to wait a few minutes. So I figured you want to do the
Well, I didn't
presentation
see the
first.
meter, how the meter's running on this one. So, and with all due respect, I'd rather go with 14 than 15. Is that okay?
Sure, he's just, let me see if he's zoomed in yet.
Well, if he's not, then he's not on the clock. And that's okay.
That's correct. Yes, he's not on the clock.
All right, we'll get a 15. That's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Item number 15 is a presentation from Utility Service Partners Private Label, Inc., DBA Service Line Warranties of America regarding services available for Deerfield Beach residents.
Fair Games, City Commission, and Ravenous. Steve, my name is Steve Baranowski. I am your town manager for the National League of Cities Service Line Warranty Program. Tonight, I just want to provide you a brief update how the program is doing and let you know about some of the newer programs that are available to residents, and we're here to answer any questions you might have. So I just have a few slides to present to provide some updated numbers. So next slide, please. I just wanted to give you a quick recap about how we work with the city to educate the residents. We are the only service line program endorsed by the National League of Cities. We do work to make the program as turnkey as possible. We take the claim, we handle all the marketing, the billing, all that aspect, get that all that off the city's hands, and we also enhance the local economy. We work with local contractors on any claims that come through. Really, one, to reinvest back in the community, but two, the local contractors know the city of Deerfield Beach is code. So when the local contractors are going out there to fix it, they know the job that needs to be done and the standard that you guys have set. Next slide, please. Before I dive into the city of Deerfield Beach, I just wanted to give you a brief overview. Because not only am I your account manager, I do work through the entire state of Florida. So currently we have 29 Florida partners through the Service Line More Students of America program. And to date, we've completed over 3,200 jobs, saving residents of Florida a little over $1.9 million. So, that's something we're proud of, and we're also proud to be partnered with Broward League of Cities as well as the Florida Association of Counties. So we'll continue to serve the residents of Florida and Deerfield Beach. But now, more importantly, next slide, please. More importantly, the city of Deerfield Beach numbers. So as of the end of September, we've completed 191 claims, saving residents over $128,000 since the program launched in 2016. I would like to point out that when we did relaunch the program, I actually joined via Zoom last summer, just to give you guys an update, because we were basically launching the program to residents that had been a couple of years since we mailed. Since we mailed at the beginning of last summer, we've completed 58 claims, totaling a little more than $41,000. So that's roughly a quarter of the claim just coming in the last 12 months. And I think it has a lot to do with educating the residents, letting them know that the plans are available, and letting them know about their responsibilities. And that $128,000 and 191 total claims, roughly $670 per claim. Now, obviously, that's not every claim. Some are a little cheaper, some are a little bit more expensive. But that averages about $670. And as I mentioned a moment ago, the most important thing about this program is educating the residents about their responsibility. Because, as I mentioned to people all the time, prior to starting the company, I didn't know the water and sewer lines were my responsibility, and it's good to bring that awareness of the residents, because even if they don't sign up for the optional plans, at least now they know that those lines are their responsibility. Next slide, please. And one thing I do like to mention too is our foundation, HomeServe Cares. This is our way to get back to communities. If you catch wind of a resident that's kind of in a tough situation, they have some type of issue with the water and sewer lines, they're not currently a customer, feel free to reach out to me. We have the HomeServe Cares Foundation. We will work with a local contractor to fix whatever the issue is at no cost to the homeowner. All they have to do is go on our website, answer a couple basic questions, and we do what we can to help them out. So I do like to bring this up every time I do present in front of the commission, just because keep in the back of your mind potential of any residents that might be in trouble. Next slide, please. All right, so that covers the water and sewer line. I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Ashley Schwarzby. She is the senior director for the state of Florida. She's going to let you know a little bit more about some additional programs for this.
Steve, thanks, Mayor and Commissioners, for having me here this evening as well. Yeah, we just wanted to also let you know a little bit about our new program that we've been offering for about the last 2.5 years now. So I know we partnered with the city back in 2016 to make our service line program available to the residents here. It really educates the homeowners of what their service line responsibility is and allows them to enroll in optional protection if they choose so. And this really comes in and kind of completes that puzzle for a homeowner, where right now you have the program available to help repair or replace what's causing the issue. And this program would help to pay for a high water or sewer bill that may be associated with them. You can go to the next slide, please. Yeah, so very similar to the service line program. With the service line program, you're educating the residents that these lines are their responsibility. With the leak protection program, I know a lot of times a homeowner, when they get that high water bill in the mail, they look to the city to either help with an adjustment, or maybe set up a payment plan, and then your staff is left being that bearer of bad news, explaining to the homeowner, unfortunately, this entire bill is your responsibility. So what this program would actually do, it would create a leak adjustment policy and process for the city. It allows you to recapture all of that money for those high water and sewer bills. You no longer have to do write-offs or payment plans. And it really creates that policy. That way, the resident, when they have a leak, no longer has to bother the staff asking them if they would make an adjustment. And it allows you to recapture all of the money for that high water or sewer bill. You can go to the next slide, please. This one is a little bit different than the service line program, where this is an actual insurance policy where we do insure a city for their lost water, and your homeowners here are considered additional claimants. And what we would do is we would create that policy. We have a few different options for your residents. We have a $500, a $1,000, or a $2,500 coverage limit. And we would allow the homeowner to file one claim with us every 12 months. What's nice about this program is they are able to file that claim over 2 billing cycles, because we know a lot of times a homeowner doesn't realize they have a leak until they get that bill in the mail. And then it's already starting to calculate for that next cycle. And we pay the loss directly to the city here. That way you can ensure that they're using that money to actually pay for their high water and sewer bill, as opposed to doing something a little bit more fun with that. Next slide, please. The way that this program works is a little bit different than the service line program. It's really a one-time announcement. Very similar to the service line program, though we do customize a flyer, but this one is included as a bill insert. Really letting the homeowners know all the details about this new leak adjustment policy. Now, if they have a leak, they are able to apply for one adjustment every 12 months. Lets them know the dates that this would be going into effect. Really answers all of the questions for them, and let them know if they have a leak to call us, as opposed to taking up your staff time doing that. This one is a little bit different, as I mentioned, as it does show up as a line item on the resident's water or sewer bill, and they do have the freedom to decline the coverage before anything does show up on their bill. But as I mentioned, the reason why it's like that is because it is an insurance policy for the city, and those homeowners are considered additional claimants. And the reason why it's set up like that is it allows the homeowner to file that claim directly with us as the claimant, but pay the loss to the city to ensure that you're actually receiving that revenue. We just really wanted to bring your attention to this program, as it's really a new benefit to our partners and really can complete that puzzle of that whole protection for your residents. And if you have some interest in learning more, we're happy to answer any questions or work with staff and kind of go over all of the specifics. And this one is normally about $1 or $2 per month for the homeowners. Yeah, I know I've given you a little bit of information, but we really appreciate your partnership over the years, and we're happy to just answer any questions you have on either program.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Commission comments? Commissioner Drosky?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. First of all, thank you for being here tonight and presenting the information to us. So to the residents, when you open up your mail and your water bill, you see this program from Service Line, it's legitimate, because I get all these calls. Is this legitimate? Is this a scam or whatever? No, it's them right here. So ask them, they're here. Ask them any questions that you want to. They're here. So you, as residents, including myself, we're responsible from the city's responsible from the water meter to the street, but from the water meter to the home is our responsibility. And that's what the water and sewer line coverage protects. But as far as the leak protection program, so tell me a little bit more how that works, because this is new and I haven't had an opportunity to talk to you about it. So it's kind of on the fly. So is it something the homeowner registers for? Because the money you said comes to the city. So, but we don't get the money back unless a homeowner is enrolled for this coverage, correct? I mean, that's obvious, but is there, do you offer like an insurance product for the city? So if the cities, because I know we do write off water bills, for example, somebody has a high water bill and then they'll call all of us. I think all of us up here on the dais have received calls. Oh, my water bill is so much higher this month, and we know it's their fault, but they claim it's not their fault, and the city, as a courtesy, makes a one-time adjustment. That's not a hint to anybody to go make calls to us to make one-time adjustments going forward. But is there any type of insurance that would protect the cities? Because it sounds like this is something the resident has to do. Is there something that the city can do to protect against that? I know this is a long rambling question.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to answer that, Commissioner Drosky. So with the program, that's really where the leak protection program comes into play. So it comes into those situations. So you all as mayor and commissioners don't have to make that decision. Should we make this right off here? Is this one where we're gonna say no, or we're gonna do a partial adjustment, or we're gonna set up a payment plan? There's no longer that question. It sets up a specific leak policy. So this is your policy, but we handle it. So that way, if a homeowner does have the leak, they no longer have to come to any of you for that. They would just know they have this protection through us. And then they call us to file that claim. We work with that customer to make sure that, first of all, they got their leak taken care of, so they're not continually wasting your water. And then once we verify that, we work with them to see what their 12-month history is, and we pay anything over their 12-month average, but we pay that amount of the claim to the city and you credit their account. So it is an insurance policy where we insure the city for their lost water, but the homeowners pay it as a separate line item on their bill with the freedom to decline it.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
That's it. Anyone from the public here to comment on this item?
Let's see. This is the chance. I don't want calls or emails.
His number is. Really close it to the public. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, we are now on comments by administration and legal. There is a discussion item. Item number 14 is a discussion regarding the proposed solid waste ILA and the city's letter response and comments. I do have my law partner who is zoomed in. Jamie Cole is with us tonight for the meeting. So Jamie is one of the few attorneys that's working directly with the solid waste working group and is just going to give you a brief overview on the ILA and the status of the working group's work related to the ILA. Jamie?
Thank you, Anthony, and good evening, everyone. As you know, this solid waste working group has now been working for several years to try to come up with a strategy for the long-term problem that the county faces regarding the disposal of solid waste and recycling of solid wastes in Broward County. The solid waste working group was formed through a memorandum of understanding that Deerfield Beach joined, along with all of the cities in Broward County, I think other than Lazy Lake, and Broward County, and has been working pretty much tirelessly to come up with a plan to figure out how to address solid waste disposal. So initially, the question was whether there should be a dependent district dependent on the county, or an independent district created by the legislature, or a authority created through an interlocal agreement. Ultimately, the decision was made that it should be an authority through an interlocal agreement. That interlocal agreement has been negotiated and drafted. You have it before you in draft form. The solid waste working group has given it to all of the cities in the county for comments. The comments technically were due on October 14th, but since you weren't meeting until today, you can decide what comments you want to make. To give you just a overview of the interlocal agreement, the term of the interlocal agreement is for 40 years with 2 10-year renewal options. There's a governing board. The governing board consists of 1 member from each of the municipalities that join, plus 1 representative from the county. So if all of the cities in Broward County join, there would be 31 municipal representatives and 1 county representative. There's a executive committee. The executive committee is comprised of 11 members, 1 from the county, 10 from the cities. It is among the representatives that you will choose. Like if you have 1 representative on the governing board, that representative could be on the executive committee if chosen. The way the executive committee is chosen is the large cities, which is 1/3 of the cities that join, will have 5 members. The medium cities will have 3, and the small cities will have 2. So assuming all of the cities in Broward County join, all 31, the 10 large cities would get to choose 5 representatives, the 10 medium cities would get to choose 3 representatives, and the 10 would be the 11 small cities would choose 2 representatives. I believe your population is just about 90,000, maybe slightly under 90,000. I believe that puts you 10th in population in Broward County, which would, assuming all of the municipalities join, that would mean you would be in the large category. The initial startup for the authority would be take approximately 2 to 3 years. During that period, the governing board would be created, the executive committee would be meeting, they would hire an executive director and consultants and attorneys. They would come up with a master plan. That master plan would specify exactly what's going to happen over the next 40 years, whether or not there's going to be certain facilities built, where they're going to be built, how they're going to be built, how the financing is going to be done through bonds, how the special assessments will work, what the tipping fee structure will work. All those details will be worked out during those 2 or 3 years and will be contained in a master plan. Once the master plan is created, it will be presented to the county and all the cities. It will need at least, I think 70 or 80% of the cities will have to approve it in order for it to move forward. As it stands now, the county has the ability to veto it. So if the county says that they do not like it, then it does not go forward at that point. That is one area of contention that we will talk about. The funding for the initial startup will be approximately $2 million a year. As it's drafted now, that is funded pro rata by population by all of the cities and the county, but the county is just the unincorporated area. So the county's share is very small. You can estimate your share will be approximately $1 per person per year. So it'd be approximately 90,000 per year for 2 or 3 years would be Deerfield Beach's share. The county's share, by the way, would be about 10,000 a year. And that is a area of contention that we'll talk about. Once the entity is created, any amendment, assuming it goes forward and enough cities want to continue with it, then there will be special assessments each year. So the authority will have the power to borrow the money to build facilities. They will be able to do a special assessment to pay off the bonds. There'll also be tipping fees for the waste. And during the startup period, there'll be a whole economic feasibility analysis done to make sure this all makes sense and meets the long-term goals, which are to save money, not to spend more money, but to also be environmentally sensitive and to ensure a supply of disposal capacity for all of the cities. So that's basically the outline. I believe you've been provided a draft letter that has some possible comments that staff worked on. A lot of these comments have been adopted by other cities as well. And I'll just briefly talk about what the general comments are. The first comment is just a general statement of support that the city is generally supportive of the ILA and its approach of having the county municipalities work together collaboratively to develop and implement a long-term approach to solid waste disposal and recycling. The second comment deals with the multiple sections in the agreement under which the county has a veto power. Under those provisions, which are really the significant decisions, not day-to-day decisions. The day-to-day decisions are just done by the executive committee and the executive director. But the big decisions, such as the master plan, whether to build a solid waste disposal facility, major decisions, the county insisted on an override. So that means if all of the cities want to do it and the county does not, that it does not happen. The county, last Tuesday, the county commission met and discussed the agreement, and they objected to that provision. They think that they should have the veto power and that the veto power should be exercisable by majority vote. The way the agreement is drafted now, the county does have a veto power. So even if 100% of the cities want to do something, if the county says no, then the county is able to veto it. But there's a provision that requires the county commission to have at least a 6-3 vote to override the will of 100% of the cities. The county objects to that. They think it should only be a majority vote. The comment that you have before you would say that there should either not be a vote, veto power at all, But if there is a veto power, it should be 100%, or 2/3, one or the other, at least some type of larger vote of the county commission, either unanimous or close to unanimous, that, 6 out of the 9 is not sufficient to override 100% of the cities. So the basically the comment is either the county should not have a veto power, or the county to override the 100% of the cities should require 100% of the county commission. The third comment deals with the funding. As I mentioned in the initial startup period, those 2 or 3 years, there's going to be a need for about $2 million a year. The way it's drafted now, the cities are basically coming up with all of the money, and the county is coming up with next to no money, and they insist on having a veto power. So theoretically, during those 2 or 3 years, the cities could fund almost $6 million, the county could fund about 30,000, and then the county can veto the entire plan, and cities do not think that is right. So the thought here is that the county should fund 50%, and the cities should fund 50%, and the city's share would be based on population. That is how the funding was done for the waste generation study that has just been completed. The fourth comment deals with the fact that Deerfield Beach is one of only 2 cities in Broward County that performs its own collection and hauling. Because of that, disposal location and costs will likely have greater economic and operational impacts on the city operations when compared to Broward municipalities that utilize a private hauler. So the city's comment is that the city believes that it's important to have representation on the executive committee from a Broward municipality that performs collection and hauling, so that the unique considerations of such operations will be adequately represented. The fifth comment just deals with a damage provision that was a little bit unclear, just to make it clear that any damages that could be awarded if the authority acts improperly would be against the authority only, not against the municipalities. And then sixth, in developing the master plan that I mentioned that would be done in the first 2 to 3 years, the authority should consider and evaluate all existing permitted disposal facilities and all properties within the county with appropriate entitlements for such facilities in order to meet the goals and objectives of the solid waste working group. So those are the 6 comments that have been prepared by staff and the attorneys that are possible comments. You don't have to make any of those comments. You can make totally different comments. You could decide not to make any comments at all. That is completely up to you as to how you want to proceed. And I'm certainly open to answer any questions and address any comments.
Thank you, Jamie. So that is the presentation. If the commission wants to discuss it and address whether you agree with the comments or not.
Mr. Droste, you're a representative.
I am the representative to this, so obviously I think it's important that Deerfield Beach do make the comments. All of them that Mr. Cole read. I mean, I was part of the discussion with those particular comments. But my question to you, Mr. Cole, is I watched Tuesday night as well, and we could make all of these comments, but the county wasn't having any of it at that meeting. They were not even the most friendly commissioners to the city were in opposition to this. What is the strategy, without giving away the strategy, going forward? Because after watching that meeting, it seemed like it's a long uphill to go.
I certainly agree. I was actually at the meeting and was a bit disappointed with some of the comments. I mean, some of the comments went so far as to saying that the executive committee, rather than having 10 city representatives and 1 county representative, should have more county representatives, even though the county only deals with less than 1% of the waste. I mean, one thing to remember is over 99% of the waste in Broward County is generated within municipal boundaries, not the county. So it really makes sense for the cities to have control over this. But I agree with you. I think it's an uphill battle still. Most or a large number of cities have provided comments similar to the comments that are before you today. The expectation is that we're going to have to sit down and come to some compromise. As to, for example, on this veto issue, the cities don't want any veto, or the county to have 100%. The current draft says 6 out of the 9 have to vote to override the cities. They want it to be majority vote. So, I assume there'll be some discussions and hopefully we'll be able to come to some meeting of the minds between the cities and the county. The county has a lot at stake in this. The county is the one who's ultimately responsible for solid waste disposal. So if this doesn't work out, it is an issue for them. It's very difficult for them to do much because, as I mentioned, the cities have 99% of the waste. So we control the waste, yet they have the statutory responsibility. And it's very difficult for them to satisfy their responsibility if they can't control the waste. So both sides have strong reasons to work out a deal. And I think that was mentioned by numerous county commissioners. So they have a strong incentive to find a solution, as do the cities. So I think if you think about where we started, which was in litigation over the assets of the Resource Recovery Board, to where we are, we've come, 85% of the way there. So I think this last 15% is going to be a bit difficult, but we are optimistic that if the cities all stick together and take a strong stand, we'll be able to come to a good resolution.
And I hope we do approve all the comments tonight, especially the one that was talking about the composition of the executive committee. Thank you, Mr. Cole, by the way, with respect to the composition of the executive committee, because as Mr. Cole set out, the way the composition that is proposed is that there's two members from the top 10 cities. And so Deerfield, for better or for worse, is number 10. So this is me talking, when is Deerfield, when you have Pompano and Fort Lauderdale, pardon me, and all these other cities, when is Deerfield Beach going to get one of those 2 spots? It's going to be really tough in that competition. So the thought was to cities that are their own haulers. Pardon me for a second. Jeez. Thank you. Cities that are their own haulers, for example, us and Allendale, I think we're the only 2, that they would have a designated seat on the board because their interests are much different from those that use contract services instead. So I think that's an important comment that is Deerfield specific. Pardon me, the other comments are excuse me, are related to what other cities have already made. So I would be in support of recommending all 6 comments that be presented on the ILA and keep the discussion going. As Mr. Cole indicated, it's an uphill battle, but we've come a long way and we've got a long way to go because the comments that were made Tuesday night were very adamant by the county commissioners, but Tuesday afternoon were very adamant by the county commissioners, but it could be some posturing on their behalf as well. So I think it's time to roll up the sleeves and get back to work, but we're not going to get back to work until we make our comments.
Do we need a motion for that?
I would suggest a motion, Commissioner, if it's the commission's pleasure to send the comments over to the solid waste working group, you can do a motion to approve transmittal of the comments.
Do we do public hearing? I'll make that motion if this is the right time.
Is there anyone from the public who would care to comment on this item? It's a lot of information. I don't expect anybody here to know this off the top of their head. This goes back before I was in office and many years ago, and seeing what was the Resource Recovery Board and what a bad deal that was for the city of Deerfield Beach. We were lucky enough to have some people like Ron Bergeron that came forward with some recycling. Our tipping rate would have been $75 a ton, and they thought that was the greatest deal in the world. They were selling to us, and once we showed competition, suddenly that price came down into the 40s. And if it wasn't for us having competition, we would have been stuck with a bad deal and then telling us that it was a sweet one. This has been a bad deal all along. It's still a bad deal. It's the garbage business. It's never clean, and it stinks. I'll tell you right now, it stinks. So I look for your guidance on this. We have the best person I could think of when it comes to dealing with garbage. It's you. But in all seriousness, I trust your guidance on this. Is there former representative? Go ahead. Gwen, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Mike, I'm listening to Attorney Cole and laying out all of the parameters. We still have unincorporated areas that have a possibility of being annexed into cities. And I'd just like to throw that out there as a thought of when we're talking about the numbers and who's going to be paying for it. And I wanted to know, you said that you're going to they're talking about basing the cost of running this board or this executive board and all of these other components to it, talking about charging the cities somewhere maybe like $1 per resident. How do you figure that? How do you figure that out? And where's the budget? Who's setting up the budget for this whole operation? I think those are some questions that, I as a resident would want to know. Is my garbage bill going to be increased so that, the city becomes a part of this group? Just what is it that how will the residents be affected? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public care to comment? Let's see. Yes, sir. Just your name and address for the record.
Yes. Robert DeChrysler from 517 East Avenue. I guess my only question is, are there limitations or exceptions for recycling? That obviously the city of Deerfield doesn't recycle anymore. Is there going to be a penalty or some kind of adjustment for the city because we don't recycle, which to me is the best thing we've done in terms of savings for the city, but I don't know if there's any comments on recycling.
No, most cities have abandoned sites because of the market, but we can get into that.
Right, but I'm just saying, I don't know if they're going to penalize the city because we don't, other cities do. If we're not going to use their facility that they come up with, and we're bringing an additional, I guess we're covering the tipping fees, so we have this company that we're paying the tipping fees if we have the material. Sure. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on the public? Yes, sir. I'll wait till you get your mic, just name your name and address.
191 Northwest 47th Avenue. This is a huge stinking problem. We've got a mound of stuff down in Pompano that can't get much taller. We've got an ocean out here that gets polluted by runoff from that mound and a bunch of other sources. It's not just how much is it going to cost us to get rid of the trash that we produce in our homes every day. It's what's the impact of getting rid of that trash going to be to the environment. There are real environmental issues that need to be considered. Carbon dioxide is not one of them. Nutrient pollution is a huge issue. I lived in California for a number of years, and we saw a lot of things happen out there. Ultimately, what they ended up doing was packing it in 18-wheelers and running it out to the valley. I don't know how far they went, but it was at least 50 miles, and it was a train of these vehicles carrying trash from the coastal areas out into the country to go into a pile someplace else. So I'm not sure. I've listened to this. I don't understand it. Todd, I trust you explicitly to take care of us, but I hope in the midst of this, it's not just a battle between the county and the city. It should be a battle between the environment and the protection of the environment and the cost of Deerfield Beach to assure that we're not destroying our own environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
William Lane, 11 Tilford A in Century Village. I think we still have recycling because I just took a whole bunch of recyclables down off of Martin Luther King Boulevard, and I do that every 2 weeks. And so what's that recycling Where's that going? Anybody know?
We'll answer your question.
Okay. And, you know, it's, I agree with the last person that spoke. It's a confusing thing, but I think I was here last year when there were a group of people that were looking into having an area that would be recyclable for Broward County. And honestly, I can't remember the exact date, but it was something at the end of the meeting that took them about 45 minutes to explain. And I think they had talked about, they had gone to Atlanta, Georgia, and there was a recycling place there that specifically did glass. And they were actually making money recycling that through the machine, because glass is used in so much, I mean, small pieces of glass into not asphalt, but cement and you know, other building products. And I don't know what happened, and I don't know if any of you guys remember that. I think the one guy was from Cooper City, and
It's all part of this.
Pardon me?
It's all part of this.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, thank you. I just wanted to, because I'm confused. I'm thinking I'm recycling when I go down to the recycle center, and so where's that stuff going? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
Good evening, Daniel Shinetsky, 34 Keswick Beach, Deerfield Beach, 33442. I just want to bring up something. I went to a meeting at the beginning of the week, or I'm sorry, it could have been last week, where they had a representative from Waste Management or Mount Trashmore. And what she said really struck me. She said, and I'm pretty sure I remember her saying this, that most of the trash from Deerfield Beach residents do not go to Mount Trashmore. So whatever's being brought to Mount Trashmore is not even from residents of Deerfield Beach. I forgot where she said it was coming from. It could have been coming from industry, but that really struck me, that the trash that's coming from the citizens of Deerfield Beach is not going to Mount Trashmore. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? I'm going to close it to the public. I had asked that all the trash from Deerfield go to the village of Hillsborough Beach, and I don't think they do that. But recycling is tricky. We have limited recycling. The recycling that we are getting, as long as it's not contaminated, is getting properly recycled. But the market has totally changed. The market is still changing. Glass now does have a little bit of a market. I think when at zero, it's a negative. It's actually costing us to supposedly recycle glass. Truth of the matter is, when it comes to recycling, I don't want to get into a big recycling conversation about this, but the whole all-in-one blue bin thing that we had was really great. It was a real feel-good thing. Everybody thought they were doing the right thing. Right up until we didn't have someone to take all of that away. We didn't have it being trained out into the middle of somewhere dumped. It was being shipped overseas to places like China that were taking it all, no matter what condition it was in. That gave places like Waste Management the opportunity to now say, well, we have decontamination. And that was really just a magic word to figure out how can we charge you for the money for what we're taking. That's what it was. Now, I'm not saying there weren't costs to separate it or anything like that. I totally understand that. But it was an absolute lucrative market to spend decades talking people into all in one bin, throw everything you want there, we got you covered. To if you're not down to below 20%, you can't decontamination in your bucket. We're going to pull you through the nose on this one, and that's what exactly was what happened. So that's why we got out of it. Yeah, a lot of people feel good. I can still put a blue bin in front of your house telling you it's being recycled. I got no problem telling you that. It's not happening though. It's not where it's going. It's not where you think it's going. So that whole fallacy, we just stopped letting people feel good about themselves when it wasn't really happening. This is a very tricky subject matter. Don't think they're not gonna go after the height of Mount Crash. I know they are. I've already been told that by county representatives. In casual conversation, you know the height's gonna go up. Well, over my dead body, we're gonna go to war on that kind of thing. But that's what's coming. So you're right that we need to be concerned environmentally about what's happening over there. Again, I do know that Commissioner Drosky's on top of this and wading through it. And if he supports us moving forward with something like this, it has my support. I'm not sure who went first, Commissioner Preston, Commissioner Parnas, and Vice President. How's that?
Thank you, Mayor. You know, when we say that we give Commissioner Drosky support, and I certainly do, but we have to also remember he's not really in a decision-making position to be able to say this is going to happen. We can give him support, and whatever way he guides us and things that we have to do, we have to be compliant. But in the end, we need to remember that there's a one against him and us as well. And this is going to be a very challenging process, and we have to keep all of those things in mind as we move forward. It's not going to be an easy thing, you know, because the powers to be are stronger than we are. They wield more power. The sword is much bigger that they have. The only thing we can do is understand exactly, you know, try to find the weaknesses in their arguments and the things that they do, and let the residents of Deerfield Beach know exactly what's going on so that we don't fight it, or you, Commissioner Drosky, don't fight it, but as a community, as a city, we fight it. And at that point, we might see some differences being made. It's never us, but always we must include our resident and to get them involved, because in the end, what are we talking about? Things that really affect them.
Commissioner Parnas.
I don't think people realize 90% right now what goes into Mount Trashmore is industrial waste. 10% is actual garbage. You know where our garbage is trucked to? Orlando. When you throw your garbage out, that's where it goes. When that fills up, where's it gonna go next? Georgia? Alabama? And that cost means going up. We have a garbage problem, and it's gotta get solved. And it's gonna cost money to get it solved. The county is thinking of all the cities putting together, getting our own disposable, get rid of garbage facility. That may be the answer, but in the meanwhile, we have a problem. Yes, Mount Trashmore would like to raise the height. We don't want it. Will we be outvoted by other cities? Perhaps. But we can fight. But we do have to understand there is a garbage problem. Piling it up on top of a mountain is no longer the answer, because we're running out of mountains. And we're running out of space to put those mountains. So we have to find a better solution. That's the answer, a better solution. How maybe we can turn garbage into electricity. Make it useful. But until that time, we have to live with companies like Waste Management, because we have nobody else to hold it away anymore. So we have to grow up and realize there's a problem and work to get it solved. And that's what Todd and this committee of all the cities are trying to do. And we have to support that, because that's the future. We can't keep going on the way we are. How high can a mountain go? I've heard suggestions turn Mount garbage into a ski slope or a golf course. But where do we put our garbage in the meanwhile? Where does it go? How do we get rid of it? How do we keep it from polluting our oceans? These are problems that need to get solved. And incidentally, I'm going to take a moment of personal privilege and say hi to Joe Miller, former commissioner. Bon vivant around Deerfield Beach. Nice to see you here, Joe. Welcome.
Vice Mayor Hudak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's vitally important that we support our fellow cities. You know, and just looking at these points, just hopefully shows the residents how little power these cities have. When even if 100% of the cities vote for a specific item, the county still has an opportunity to veto it. So as Commissioner Preston said, it's vitally important that our residents stay on top of this. As Commissioner Preston said, you know, Commissioner Drosky or any of us really don't have a lot of authority to change things. All we can do is be a proponent for our residents and for our cities. I would presume the other 30 cities in Broward County are in support of this letter, or these points are very, very close to them. And I, as well, have full confidence in Commissioner Drosky and his due diligence in bringing these points to our attention and guiding us into the best way to move forward. So I will be supporting this motion as well.
Thank you. Commissioner Drosky?
So just to quickly recap, so what we're asking tonight, or what I'm asking tonight, is just to approve the comments to be sent to the working group, our comments towards the ILA, towards to the working group. We're not voting on any rates, we're not voting on a structure or any of that. We're not doing any of that tonight. So all we're doing is asking to forward our comments and to continue to be part of the dialogue, continue to be part of the conversation. At the end of the day, maybe this is not a fit for Deerfield Beach, but we won't know until we continue the dialogue, until we have a final document that we can all review and vet. And that's, Commissioner Preston, when our residents will be involved, and we'll get them and we'll say, hey, is this in your best interest or not? We will have that conversation another day, but today it's just to continue to be in the dialogue for Deerfield Beach to have a seat at the table. Everybody makes a great point. All of the residents that spoke tonight, all of my colleagues, you all make great points. But you're taking little pieces of a much bigger conversation. We would be here a long, long time to tie all of those comments together. And they do fit together. It's a big jigsaw puzzle, but everyone just has a little bit of the conversation going on tonight. And it really is a big conversation going together. And that's what we're trying to do as the working group. Put those pieces together into a conversation and work something out with the county. Maybe we come to an agreement. Maybe we don't, but we don't know until we keep trying, and that's the purpose of tonight. To forward our Deerfield specific comments. Yes, our comments have a lot of similarity to what the other cities are making, but we do have one specific Deerfield Beach comment that we want to forward to the working group so that can be considered. So that's what we're asking tonight, not to solve recycling and where it goes tonight, but just to continue to be part of the conversation. And with that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion from Commissioner Drosky, finally, thank you, and a second from Commissioner Preston. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky?
Yes.
Commissioner Parnas?
Yes.
Commissioner Preston?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Huda?
Yes.
Mayor Hill?
Yes, and thank you, Mr. Cole, I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. There's no further comments from legal tonight, so I'll turn it over to the city manager.
I just have one, and you're gonna love me for this, but I'm gonna continue the discussion of talking trash. It is completely related, interestingly enough, to the ILA. And a lot of comments that were said here tonight. I want to make the city commission and the public aware that there's an item going before the planning council. I believe it is October 27th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner. And that item is the land use plan amendment for the waste to energy designated zoning over at what was referred to tonight as Mount Trashmore or Monarch Hill. And so with Commissioner Arnaz as our designee for the Planning Council, I just want to remind the commission that we did, or that you did pass a resolution opposing that land use plan amendment. So it's going back before the Planning Council here on the 27th. And I just want to also point out that once that waste to energy designation is removed, it will be gone forever. They will turn that zoning into an expansion of the landfill. And as in the comments that I have provided to the working group of the solid waste working group recently at a meeting I attended, that is considerably off kilter to the goals and objectives of what they are trying to do, which is to reduce the amount of solid waste materials that are hitting our landfills, and looking at alternative solutions like waste to energy facilities and recycling, all of which is part of the conversation, as I know one of the residents said. So it is very disturbing to me that this is even coming before the Planning Council and then ultimately to the County Commission, because once that designation is removed, it is not returning. And what I can tell you is that the south burner or waste to energy facility is at or near capacity. So you've already got that designation there, and I don't know if we'd ever see that designation in the northern part of the county, especially with the limited amount of land that we have. So yes, that will be on the agenda for the Planning Council on October 27th. We have submitted our comments to the Planning Council for that, which includes the previous resolution, all of the letters that our residents have submitted in relation to that item in opposition, as well as detailed analysis and staff's concerns regarding it. That's all I have this evening.
Thank you. On that note, just to piggyback on that, I want to say, Commissioner Parnas, I know you're a representative on there. I know you're going to fight hard for that with this, but this will really show you where this commission lines up as far as Broward County Commission. If they remove that designation, that means that that facility that you see there now at the dump when you're on Green Road, that will disappear. That will be torn down. They're not using it now. They're using it as storage, so to speak. This is exactly what the county has left us with over decades of abuse when it comes to making bad decisions on some of these facilities like this. They closed the one in the south. This one closes. It closes forever. They will tear that down and they will fill that mound up to capacity all the way to the edge of Green Road, or as close as they can get it. Exactly what they did in the small corner, the northeast corner of that facility. There used to be a little building there.
Yep.
They wanted to tear that down and just kind of bring it out a little bit. Well, they brought it out and then they filled it straight up and ran it straight across. So that's what they're going to do. So if any of you have the ability to make a phone call your county commissioner, Mark Bogan. Make sure he's aware that this is not something that Deerfield Beach supports. And let's make sure that when the Planning Council has that forum, that we win that argument. Count on you, Commissioner.
You're all invited, by the way. It is open to the public either by phone or in person on the 27th at 115 South Andrews Avenue. And where the county commission meets is where we meet at 10 o'clock. When the item comes up, you can speak either by phone or in person against them getting rid of that designation. So I invite anybody that cares about Deerfield, if you've got the time, please come. The council listens to people when they speak. And they even win sometimes. If people take the time and the energy to oppose something, they will listen. The Planning Council makes a recommendation to the county commission. And 9 times out of 10, the commission votes. We do the work for the county commission on an item. And they usually accept our resignation. So all the help we can get to defeat this will be welcome. And anybody wants to call me and get the numbers or what during the week, feel free to do so. And I will put you in touch with the planning council and how to oppose this item for the 27th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are now in comments by mayor and city commission.
District 1.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sure everybody else is going to mention this as well. We're State of the City happening tomorrow at JM Family. So we hope we have a lot of residents there. It's usually a very, very informative meeting. I had some questions for Chris Moore, but I saw her earlier. I don't know if she had. And it was just in regards to the bus stop construction on Hillsborough Boulevard, as well as the crossing lights by Flanagan. They've been out for a while. I don't know if you, Mr. City Manager, have any updates on either one of those projects. But they've been a challenge for quite some time to our residents on the island.
I don't have any updates for you at this time, Commissioner, excuse me, Vice Mayor, but I will get those updates for you and relay them to you.
And that's all
I'm so sorry. I was going in order. Yes, District 2.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Tia Hill is the athletic director at Deerfield Beach High School. She's also the activities director as well as the student government advisor and the senior class advisor. And she was going to come here tonight to ask the city commissioner to partner with the high school. They want to do a trunk or treat event at Westside Park on the 31st. And because of the COVID situation and safety for the kids, knocking on doors that, we live in a different time now. Kids get abducted, all kinds of stuff. So they have a safe thing right there in the park. The cars come from the teachers and the alumni. And they line them up and the kids just simply go from trunk to trunk and get candy and that sort of thing. So I'm in total agreement with it. And she was going to come tonight, talk to you and ask for support with this, but she was unable to get here because of the school event. And so I'd like to know if we can support her. Well, it's what I'm saying to you is that I can have a call you or whatever, but what I'm telling you is being sponsored by the high school. So if we can't trust the high school, then I don't know who we can trust. This is her teacher. She's at the high school. They want to do something at Westside Park in the back portion. They just need a couple police officers to be there on the event. Whatever you tell me, that's what I'll relay to her.
So I guess my one question is, why are they having it at our park opposed to having it at the school?
Well, they're having it at our park because a lot of the kids come from this neighborhood, the neighborhood that's over by that area. And it's pretty open there, and they can line up the cars pretty good there logistically. And if they had a couple police officers, they could, that back portion that we have over there is pretty big, pretty nice. And that's what she asked, from us.
But I'm not, look, it sounds totally innocent and great, but that's usually where the ones that we know get burned on and on side of that stuff. So I had a little problem. But, you know, if there's more information and staff, you know, if staff trying to get this idea.
Well, I'll have.
I just don't know why, you know, you got teachers and stuff, why this last minute stuff? They know planning comes ahead of you, special events, they have their own school, they're not gonna use their own school, you can certainly manage in the drive lanes there, I mean, they do that Monday through Friday, taking kids through there all the time. Why does it always end up falling on us to stay away from the school board? The reason I say that is this is a high school event, and yet the school board gets another pass on not doing something. So.
And I can understand that, Mayor, but there's another side too. The other side is that we should work hard. That's the only public high school in the city of Deerfield Beach. And I think that we should do as much as we can to establish a relationship with them. And sometimes, you know, we have situations where they could actually have done a better job in getting the information out to us faster so that we could, you know, be able to talk about this and see how we could help them. But I think it's a responsibility of taxpaying citizens whose kids attend that high school for us as we take their taxes to help those kids as much as we can.
We do that. I mean, we do that.
Yeah, right. Well, listen, we do a lot of things, but I'm just saying that sometimes there are situations like this where they ask for the city to partner with them. And I don't know that the school board is getting a pass on anything. It's a community thing. And again, I support just partnering with the high school, you know, just to have anything. You know, I'll let her know that, you know, the commission had a problem with it. And, but I'm gonna tell you, there's gonna be time where our high school kids, and it's not being the most ideal type situation, but we'll ask the city commission or the city to help them in certain things. And I don't think that we should turn away from them. I think that we should do all that we can to build a meaningful relationship with them, because these are kids that, you know, that need direction. Now, my thing is the COVID situation. The situation for safety for kids, it's a great idea just to be in an environment. People from the high school want to set up cars so kids can walk from trunk to trunk. I think that's much safer than knocking on somebody's doors where something could happen. They're just trying to think ahead. Now, could they have planned it better? They could have. Okay, but it doesn't mean it's not a good idea.
No, I don't think it's a bad idea. Could they have planned ahead? Absolutely. It's the 18th. I mean, it's less than 2 weeks, and we want the city to foot the bill on something. Has anyone talked to Principal Marlowe to see if they would do that?
Well, it's being sponsored. She works at the high school.
But this Principal Marlowe, why is he not letting their fields?
Well, I didn't ask that question.
Yeah, it's just, it's stuff like that, but I'd be curious. I'm not trying to, I really don't mean to be Scrooge on this, but this seems really last minute and poorly planned, and that concerns me. But if staff, I certainly am not going to make a big deal of staff saying, "Oh, we're going to make it work."
Okay, what I'll do is have her talk with staff, and
I mean, we make everybody else fill out forms and do all the others. So why is she getting that?
well, I don't think she should get a pass. She should fill out the form. But if we can do it, we ought to be able to do it. And there are times up here, where, when I've said here, where things are always not in the proper order, but that's why we sit here. Sometimes that we should be able to troubleshoot things and be able to make decisions. You know, we do that. We've done that before, and it's not something that is an aberration. You know, so, you know, but I have her talk to staff, and but I will tell her that the commission, you know, had some concerns. And I don't think that the concerns that you're expressing are out of line. I mean, you should have been, we should have had more time to be able to.
Yeah, I mean, look, if staff, as far as I'm concerned, if staff can figure out a way to make it work, okay, but this doesn't seem right to me. So,
Okay. Well, I personally would say this, Mayor, if it doesn't seem right to you, then, you know, then maybe we should do it. Because if your sense is telling you that, no, we shouldn't, maybe you just shouldn't do it. It's simply that I support it, don't mean that everybody else up here doesn't support it. No, okay. We'll figure it out.
District 3.
after I was approached by many people about term limit, I proposed a piece of legislation to change our charter to go from 2 terms to 3 terms. A lot of you received postcards saying it's a power grab. I don't know what they mean by that. We have no more power than what the people give us. I'm a firm believer in let the voters decide. That's why I asked that it go on the ballot. We have a $300 million budget. It's no place for rookies. I remember when we went to Tallahassee, when we needed $1 million for the focal point. And I kid with Chip LaMarca, because when we were up in Tallahassee, I asked them some tough questions about automatic weapons at a conference with 200 people. So when we went to see him in his office, he said, "Do you have any more tough questions for me?" But we got the money. It took relationship and time to develop those relationships to get work done for this commission. We knew who to go to, and the first question they asked us about the focal point, how much skin do you have in the game? We said 12 million. What are you looking for? Another 1 million. So we can keep the kids with the elderly, because we run a preschool in the focal point. And we got, I think, $900,000 from the state. I think it's up to the voters whether or not any candidate should be invited to run for a 3rd term. That's your choice as voters. We have had commissioners after 1 term that were dismissed because the public felt they weren't doing their job in that district. There are 31 cities in Deerfield, in the county. We are in a very small minority with 2-term limits. Most cities have no term limits or 3 terms. Most, more than 2/3. We're behind the times. I really believe that that should be a decision by district of its voters. And there's no guarantee that anybody's going to win, because every time we make a decision up here, we make enemies. If I vote yes for billboards in District 4, they don't like me. If I vote for low-income housing in District 2, they don't like me. They want it in somebody else's neighborhood. Add that over the years and you get a lot of people that don't like you. So there's no guarantee that if you run for a 1st, 2nd, or 3rd term, you're going to win. Power grab? Nonsense. We did a little investigation through a newspaper and found out that the postcards you received, one came from a political group in North Lauderdale and the other came from Jupiter. The postcards objecting to us changing the term limits didn't even come from anybody in Deerfield. It was a political thing, which I like to stay out of when it comes to the city. When I arrived tonight, there were political signs all over our lawns. It's not allowed, because this is nonpartisan. We are nonpartisan. I have no idea, the 4 other gentlemen sitting up here, what political party they belong to or what they believe politically. Why? Because it doesn't concern the business of the city of Deerfield Beach. We all work for the good of the city to the best of our ability. And I believe that things should be left to voters to decide. That's why I ask you to vote yes, to allow us, if possible, to run for a 3rd term if the voters want us. It's not getting rid of term limits. It's just avoiding turning over a $300 million budget to rookies who may or may not be competent. And it has nothing to do with politics. It has to do for the good of the city. And I asked myself when I looked into this, why do most cities don't have a two-term limit? Why not? It's such a good thing out of 31 cities. Why do more than 20 of them have 3 terms or more? I know Becky Tooley's been on the board in Coconut Creek for over 15 years, or 20 years now. The voters there seem to like her. Okay, that's their district, their choice. We should have that choice here. Some good news that I had for District 3 is that it seems that the grant is coming through for the sidewalks. And from the state, that would be a big help. One of the things we tried to do and got the state to come up with $3.5 million to put sidewalks on Crystal Lake Drive and 45th Avenue so the kids don't have to get off school buses in the middle of the street. And so the state agreed with us and it came up with the money. So very happy about that. That's all I have for District 3.
Thank you. District 4.
Thank you, Mayor. I only have 2 items tonight. One, I'd like to ask the city manager to please direct staff to provide the information for the October 27 Planning Council meeting to myself and my colleagues. That way, if we want to participate or if we want to round up some residents to participate, we can. Whether it's by in person, by phone, or by Zoom, or all of the above, just give us the information, and I'll get the word out for that meeting. This sounds like an important vote, at least an important recommendation that the Planning Council is going to make to the County Commission. So I'd at least like to have some representation. I'm pretty sure I have a person or two in District 4 I can have speak against that. Secondly, I'd like to talk to my colleagues tonight about the Cultural Committee, only with respect to not the work that it's doing, but the composition. I was pretty tough on Commissioner Preston during the discussion with the African American Heritage Board is about how many members were supposed to be on there. And now after we've reconfigured that board to 5 regular members and 5 alternates, the only committee remaining in the city that has more than that is the Cultural Committee. They have 10 members, I believe, and then 5 alternates, so for 15. I'd like to pull that in line with all of our boards so we're uniform and consistent throughout. So I'd like to ask the city attorney to propose, to draft an ordinance for future consideration by my colleagues to bring that in line with all the other boards. That way we don't have any outliers. It's nothing against the Cultural Committee. I couldn't name all 15 members on the Cultural Committee. Nothing against them, it's just bringing it in line with the other boards that we have in the city. So if anyone has a huge problem with it, let me know tonight. Otherwise, I'd like the city attorney's office to work on that to bring out to a future meeting. That's all I have.
Thank you. Just a couple of things I want to continue to encourage BSO to really push for enforcement of the traffic issues that we're having out there on some of our main thoroughfares in Deerfield. The speeding, the racing is still going on. I know it's an ongoing battle, but even on my way here tonight, as I'm driving through one of the neighborhoods, I've got a dirt bike with no tags on it, driving on our main roads, this kind of stuff. We've had enough accidents. Please, we need to do something about that and continue to do something about that, push for it. But just a reminder to the residents also, if you see this, please report it and let us know. You can call me directly or call anyone of us, or call BSO. But when you see people peddling flowers or different things in the roadways, in Deerfield Beach, you're not allowed to do that. So when you see it, please report it. Now, that might sound obnoxious, and maybe it's failed many of us out of here in this room of being in trouble with our significant others and being able to buy flowers at the last minute when we piss them off. I can tell you that, but I will tell you this also it's dangerous and it's something that can cause a problem. About 3 weeks ago, I was at Hillsborough Power Line and it was dark, completely dark, and the person was wearing dark clothing The only thing that made me see them is they were selling little glow-in-the-dark balls at the corner of Power Line and Hillsborough. I thought I was seeing things. And I was like, what is that? And it distracted me. I drove past them. I called DSO and we got that straightened out. But if you see that, please let us know. You know, officers can't be there everywhere. When you see it, it is a hazard. It is a problem. It's for our safety and it's their safety as well. A lot of the people there are just put there, getting paid a very small amount of money. They're dumped there and they get picked up. And I've seen people doing that, and I've seen that same person in different areas of the city. So you know they're moved around. So not our city, but other cities. So please, if you see that, report it. I will say this when it comes to the upcoming referendum. All of us started out as rookies up there. I certainly was. I had sat 2 years out there in the audience at every single meeting before I ran for office. But we all started out as rookies. But you know, I have no issue with people picking a side, and regardless of which side it's on. I hope they do. I encourage all of you, no matter what your position is on the referendum item, is to get out there and vote. Please get out there and have your voice heard. It's very important. For me, by allowing this on the ballot, it accomplishes either one of two things. One, if it's defeated, which I think it will be, it'll put this issue to rest for the next 15 to 20 years. When you have things that have been decided by referendum, especially with the charter and stuff like that, when you get to the 15, 20 year mark, people are always going to question, well, yes, people voted on, but it was a really long time ago. So if you vote this down, it's going to put it to rest for quite a while, which is a good thing. If it passes, it's going to show me that I misread the public and that I would have gotten it wrong by deciding on not allowing them to vote for something that they wanted in the first place. I'll be surprised if it passes, but it'll show that I was wrong on how to feel about term limits. What I find disappointing and I find very frustrating is shadow campaigns and misinformation that's being spread by people who don't seem to have the courage to speak out and own it for themselves. It's this group, it's really disappointing when you find out it's from a group of people who have no problems accusing City Hall of all these private meetings that are going on, but can operate in the shadows themselves. I think it's gutless, in my opinion. Look, the average resident's gonna have to dig to find out where these little PACs are and where this money comes from. That's something I think most of us don't really like. And when you see that, and especially when you see misleading statements, allowing politicians to run over and over again, it's not true. That's not the referendum house. Changes the charter forever. No, that's not what it does. And look, it's one thing for people to get the information wrong. It's another thing for some people to want to mislead on their own individually. That's fine. But when it's an organized group that's hidden behind a slimy, shady PAC, in my opinion, like I said, it's gutless. And I don't have a lot of respect for people who operate that. And when you try to trace it back to an individual, and you trace it back to an individual, and someone goes and questions them about it, I would think, stand up and say, hey, here's why I wanted this put together. Here's why I don't want this to happen. That's your opportunity. But to hide, something's wrong with that. That's just shady. And I have a problem with that. I have a big problem with that. Now, I can only speak for myself, but I've seen it all for all of us. We've all sat up here. We've been subject to all kinds of lies and slanderous comments by people. You know, it's one thing for people to have it wrong. I had a woman come up tonight say, well, you said that people couldn't speak last week, you know, candidates. I never said that. It wasn't something I said. That's just, you know, someone misheard something. You know, and there's always going to be people who have access to grind. Glenn Sullivan, he didn't get it. Him and his wife did a good job of the city, so he's criticized the city ever since then. I get that. I have no issue with whatever their reasons are, and people take their shots all the time. But have some guts to stand up and say where you're at. Don't hide behind things. Don't do that. I mean, I'm going to make this real clear. If this referendum passes, I have the opportunity to run again. I will not be running again. It'll be 16 years in office for me. I'm good. I had served this city well, and my time will be up. And I have no problem moving away from public office here in the city of Deerfield Beach. even if I'm given the opportunity to run again. The only thing that would tempt me to do it again is if that gave me the opportunity to go toe to toe with these gutless cowards who don't have the nerve to run against me when they have the opportunity. You want to sit there online all day and accuse me of all these things to disperse my character? Do it face to face. Bring it on. You've never done it. The first person to run unopposed in District 4 since the 70s. First person to run for mayor unopposed since the 1970s. You didn't have your opportunity in the one. There's always going to be people that are run their mouth but not run for office. I don't have respect for this. So it's disappointing. People might have the right to go about it this way. But it doesn't make it right. Own up, stand up for what you believe in, and voice it. We all have to make tough decisions up here. Many decisions we don't really want to make, to be honest with you, but that's what our job is. That's what we have to do. We have to take positions on issues that you're damned either way. And we do it. And that's the right thing to do. But for those of you out here who are behind the scenes trying to make something happen and don't have the guts to speak out, shame on you. Shame on you. Sorry.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Good motion, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You adjourn.
Lights. I hear the objection. Me neither. Because